Everything I heard about I4MS yesterday and today until now, I think shows how good and how effective people from all over Europe can work together. And when I entered the building today, the first colleague I met was Colin. And of course, the first question was after the Brexit. And we discussed it a bit, and then we said, okay, we want to know everything from him about digital transformation, but we also would like to know, well, what does a Brexit mean for his company, for the common together working, and for his future plans. So welcome as our friend and colleague from Great Britain.
Right. Good morning. I'm having a bad week. You may already have gathered that. I got caught in the incident in Brussels, the terrorist incident on Monday, turned up at my conference session and found that about a quarter of the delegates had arrived, the rest had not. And yesterday I tangled with a certain European airline who decided that they wanted me to rest for a longer period at Heathrow in my journey here. And then the news this morning is really it's really a very shocking piece of news. One that just leaves you just stunned. I mean, in my life, I've never seen anything like this. But then I reflected, actually I have. Because I work for Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, a worldwide company. But I'm probably pretty sure that none of you know how old the company is. And if you guessed, I pretty well guarantee you're going to get it wrong. Because Hewlett-Packard Enterprise is actually only just over 6 months old. It's Silicon Valley's very largest startup ever, a $33 billion startup. We know as a company what separation looks like. It happens to us in our lives. We've seen HP Inc. leave, the guys who make printers and PCs. And the very strange thing is, as people leave, you don't lose your old friends. They're still your friends. But in business terms, they're separated from you. It's not an impossible separation. It's something you can work through, you can get through, but it sets you a whole new world in which you have to work in. And of course, in April next year, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise will split again into two pieces, separating the IT products company from the IT services company. These things happen. And we recover, we get our way through what we have to get our way through. And I think that is the attitude that we need to take at the present moment. For Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, we are solidly a European company across the whole of the region. We don't disappear, we don't go away. Those of us in the UK operating company have some new interesting little problems, but simply I work for headquarters in Europe, so I'm all right actually, personally. I4MS, we're not a member of I4MS, but we have a complete passion associated with industry in Europe, how that industry grows in Europe, and in particular for the small and medium-sized businesses. Because they actually figure, for somebody like ourselves, as a key part of the revenue that we produce across from our products. We produce them because there are hundreds of thousands of what we call value-added resellers, you will call SMBs, small companies, out there who are using and exploiting our products. And so therefore we have to think very carefully about how those products go to those people, how they're understood though by those people. And one of the big challenges that sits in front of them at the moment is the whole question of digitization. Because many of them have seen us by either it comes in a cardboard box or it comes shrink wrapped as a piece of software. We've got to move now to a new stage to say, hey, it comes as a service, very much as our previous speaker spoke about. And one of the things here is really the idea that business models that we have at the present moment are being very heavily disrupted by the massive presence of data. And it's something very difficult for small companies to work with accepting the previous speaker showed, a cloud in which you can do high performance compute. But these are the sort of structures that we've got to start to think and get our way towards. And the whole thought that every business model is being upset and disrupted. So therefore every piece of work that goes on in the various partners inside the project really do matter how you understand and how you work with the data. But out there is the whole world changing at the present moment of not just data from normal sources related to us and the transactions we produce, the data, the information we collect, the things in our email, our behaviours online, but also the piece now comes with the physical world coming in, called the Internet of Things by many folk, but brings the physical world into the big data world that we're working in. And that starts to allow us to produce completely new outcomes, completely changes, complete transforms to the business. And there are some of those transforms that you know incredibly well, but they sit as good examples of the transformations that are going on. Tesla has changed totally the customer experience of owning a car. If you meet a Tesla owner, they're so excited about the fact that they've got this enormous screen inside their car that gets updated on a regular basis, that they get new software releases for their car that does new things. After Microsoft's ability to do software releases, you sometimes worry about the idea of a new software release in a car, but Tesla owners, I can tell you, are absolutely delighted with what they're getting. They talk about a new experience. And that's a changing of the customer experience. You've seen the whole Amazon experience. The people who started by selling books without bookstores are now selling everything else. And of course, they've grown the industry of people driving around in delivery vans to get all that delivered. But a complete change in the delivery. In fact, the most important product in most bookstores at the present moment is, of course, coffee. And then the last one, the taxi company that doesn't own any taxis. So all of these have changed, either the operational process, the customer experience, or the business model. And that's what's really going on inside our industry at the present moment as data starts to get used. And I want to pick a specific example of this. I'm going to talk about one of our customers, Kaiser Compressor in Germany. And your eyes have probably already tracked your way down to, it says 10 million savings and 60% reduction in downtime. These guys sell compressors, compressed air for manufacturing facilities. And they're in a very competitive market. And they started to look at just how they could improve the quality of the maintenance of their compressors. And so they started to realise that the more telemetry information they could get from a compressor, the more they could understand how it was going to work, how it might break down, and what was going to happen. The amazing thing is they started to step into the whole area of predictive maintenance, and I'll talk a little bit about how it works in a second. But as they stepped into it, first of all, they started to deliver cost savings, but then they got a really brilliant idea. As a compressor company, perhaps they should stop selling compressors. Perhaps they should start doing something completely different. And what they started to do was to sell compressed air as a service. Something that we, HPE, of course, pioneered with Rolls-Royce, who actually don't sell aero engines anymore, they sell thrust as a service. So if you start to think about the business and how it starts to roll down, us big guys can think about doing these things. The question is how many smaller companies can start to think in this world of digitization, how you deliver your capabilities as a service. You get paid by the hour, you get paid by the cubic meter of compressed air, whatever the component, whatever the measure is. But is there a different way that a small business can start to actually prosper by transforming themselves in this world by using the data that's there? Now, one little pointer to the right-hand corner. You don't do many of these things on your own. And in the case of Kaiser Compressor, we're working there. The analytics comes all using SAP HANA. So you can see an ecosystem of many players coming together and the importance of players all actually understanding and having their role. Now, lots of people wonder what predictive maintenance is, and I must say I quite enjoyed the first couple of talks talking about placing transducers inside components that are being built. The idea of predictive maintenance is to identify risk, find out when it's going to go wrong, and using that, if you understand when it goes wrong, you can plan how you're going to put it right. So sensors, and we saw a great example of them earlier. Once you've got the sensors, you start to look at the risks. You start to understand what might break. The interesting thing is that maintenance can be set up at the right time. Now, the front tyres on your car are a great example of predictive maintenance. They have two failure mechanisms. One of them is you've just gently driven them for 40,000 kilometres, assuming you drive gently, 40,000 kilometres, and they've just gently worn down with time. The other one is you meet a nail in the street, and the tyre goes down instantly. It's quite possible to predict they're going to very gently go down. The nail is quite interesting. The nail can cause an immediate blowout, or the nail can actually cause a very gentle loss in pressure over the next 24 hours or something. And so there are signs. If you can start to measure what is happening, you can start to advise the driver of what's going to happen. You have a tyre that is gently going down and might last for the next 30 minutes. It's probably good to get you off a motorway or off a high-speed road to somewhere safer to sort the problem out. If you know the tyres are wearing out, well, I sort of hope you actually understand when you reach the legal limit, you're going to do something about it. But if you get a good warning that says they've got about another 2 or 3 weeks and you really need to book the appointment, then you get the idea. So in all of the businesses that we have, can we start to think about this idea of how we maintain, how we use the data? And early detection is really what helps produce the outcomes. For Kaiser Compressor, they can actually look at the different types of compressors they put in, because they can work out what one might fail, what is the right one for the customer to buy. So many times customers don't really buy the absolute best thing for them over a 5-year investment window because they've got money now, they buy the cheapest thing that they can. Over 5 years it costs them a lot more over that period of time. So if you're going to look at now models by which you buy by the hour, the provider is going to work out what the best way to do it is. Provider gets more margin, as Kaiser Compressor illustrates, and hopefully the price falls to the people who are using it, that the availability comes up for them. There's another interesting challenge where small and medium-sized business comes very much into the story of the Internet of Things as well. Because the Internet of Things is driven by agile developers who come from small companies, and they're coming up with loads of ideas. The trouble is their ideas are not built for the absolute mission-critical nature that many industries have internally inside them. So you have to work out how you're going to balance the whole idea of agile development with secure delivery. In fact, they sit in tension against each other, because if you've got a mission-critical system, you don't play with it, you don't change it, you leave it alone. In fact, most mission-critical systems are protected by a barbed wire fence, one very hungry dog and one man. The job of the very hungry dog is to bite anybody who comes near it, including the man. The man's only job is to feed the dog. That's how mission critical works. Well, actually, it may not always be a hungry dog, but you understand the point. But agile development wants to bring new things in very quickly. So what you have to start to do is to look at how you're going to do that. And so lots of this comes into things like how the application development, the release, run cycle of the IT systems comes in. How do you make sure that you've bedded into those processes of build, test, release, develop, operate, monitor, the key things that are going to be needed to ensure that this is mission critical, even though you're running in a very agile environment. And what we do is basically bed throughout the process, at the foundation, the different levels of security testing, security validation, performance testing, performance evaluation that sits inside what you're doing all the way through, and then we monitor the delivery. We watch what's going on. We look for little surprises that start to occur, feed them back in. But use that very agile process, that very fast turnaround. So there's a real interesting place, again, small and medium-sized businesses, very, very agile, but you've got to, in your own minds, think about how in a digital world, how you're in a transformed world, how you deliver at the quality levels that a big company wants. If you come in and tell me you're going to do something fabulous, you're going to do it for me at a certain price per hour, and your failure rate is about 50%, you're not very useful to me. You're not very useful to any customer. If you come in and show, hey, I can do this really clever thing that nobody else can do, and it works at the high levels of quality and efficiency that are needed to run my business, I got it, that's a place to be. So the last thing, and I'll do my advert in the last thing, because I said we do something for small and medium-sized businesses. I better tell you what it is that we do for small and medium-sized businesses. Our job, we're an IT company. And in the world of digitisation, you must know who you are, what you do, and what you're famous for. Ours is very simple. It's up there. It is simply driving IT for the Internet of Things, or even shorter, IT for IoT. That's what we do. Working alongside the operational technology providers and everything else, embedding components inside their world. We do that in terms of connectivity capability, compute capability, analytics capability, security capability, services capability, and, critically important, in this world, partnership is absolutely key. Partnership for the large and the small. Now I come back to my starting point. Those small value-added resellers in my language, small and medium-sized businesses in yours, are absolutely critical. So I have to understand in my world how I educate through that. And in fact, we have a program beginning now with our distributors, who are the key channel that go out to small and medium-sized businesses, to train them in how digitisation is going to work around their products. So I hope this is a very interesting view to you, a different, totally different view to the many things you think about in terms of the production type capabilities, the manufacturing capabilities you bring in, but really asking you to think about the importance of data in your world and how you offer your services in that environment. Thank you.